One river, one bend. 60 gigawatts of electricity, 10 times more power than America's largest dam.
China is spending $167 billion to build it 2 kilometers underground.
Inside some of the most unstable mountains on Earth, next to a border it shares with a nuclear-armed rival.
It's more expensive than the International Space Station.
It will triple the output of the largest power station ever built.
And almost nobody outside China has seen the site. Deep in Tibet, the Yarlung Sangpo River makes one of the sharpest turns of any river on the planet.
Dropping 2,000 meters in elevation in less than 50 kilometers.
That single geographic accident is now the center of the most ambitious hydropower project in human history. What follows is the story of how engineers plan to tunnel through an entire mountain range to capture that drop.
Why the project has triggered alarm across 2 nations downstream.
And why some scientists are warning the plan may be built directly on top of a fault line waiting to move.
To understand why this project exists, start with its predecessor.
China's Three Gorges Dam, completed in the early 2000s on the Yangtze River, was for decades the undisputed largest power station on Earth.
A single structure generating more electricity than entire countries. It reshaped how the world thought about hydropower at scale.
But even Three Gorges was built on relatively forgiving terrain. A wide river, moderate elevation change, decades of surveying. The Yarlung Sangpo offered something Three Gorges never had. Verticality.
A drop so extreme that harnessing even a fraction of it could dwarf anything built before.
The only problem, the drop happens inside a mountain range considered one of the most geologically dangerous places to build on the planet.
The Yarlung Sangpo begins high in the Himalayas and flows east for most of its length before slamming into the base of Namcha Barwa. Unable to pass through, the river is forced into a violent hairpin turn, Koth. Engineers call it the Great Bend.
Plunging roughly 2,000 meters in altitude across a span of less than 50 kilometers.
Almost nowhere else on Earth does a major river lose that much elevation that fast.
For over a century, this stretch of river was recognized as a hydropower jackpot, too remote and too dangerous to touch. What changed wasn't the geography, it was China's willingness to attempt the engineering required to reach it.
Unlike Three Gorges, this project isn't primarily a dam at all, folks. It's a tunnel system.
The plan calls for diverting a large portion of the river's flow away from the dangerous hairpin bend and directly through the mountain itself. Using a series of massive parallel tunnels, bored more than 20 kilometers long and roughly 10 meters wide. For comparison, the longest hydropower tunnels built anywhere to date run about 16 kilometers. This project calls for several tunnels longer than that, running in parallel. Deep enough that engineers will be drilling through rock 2 kilometers below the surface, where underground temperatures alone become a serious engineering obstacle.
Boring that much rock requires hundreds of thousands of tons of explosives.
An undertaking closer to reshaping a mountain than building a structure on top of one.
Once the water is redirected into the tunnel system, it doesn't hit one turbine, it hits a cascade.
Engineers plan to route the diverted river through a sequence of hydroelectric stations, stacked one after another, each one capturing part of that 2,000-meter drop before releasing the water further down the tunnel toward the next station. It's a fundamentally different approach from a single dam wall holding back a reservoir. Instead, the mountain's own elevation becomes the machine.
By the time the water rejoins the river downstream, it will have passed through a chain of turbines engineered to squeeze.
The numbers involved are difficult to grasp in isolation. Three Gorges, still the record holder today.
This project is designed to exceed 60 gigawatts. Enough, according to energy analysts, to power several medium-sized countries at once, using a capacity nearly 10 times that of the largest hydroelectric dam in the United States.
Projected annual output sits near 300 billion kilowatt hours, close to triple what Three Gorges generator in a year. At an estimated cost of $167 billion, it isn't just the largest hydropower project ever attempted. It's being built at a scale that turns a single river bend into a power source large enough to reshape a national grid.
The Yarlung Tsangpo doesn't end in Tibet. It crosses the border and becomes the Brahmaputra.
Flowing through India and eventually into Bangladesh, where hundreds of millions of people depend on it for drinking water, irrigation, and fishing. A dam and tunnel system capable of redirecting a major portion of that river's flow raises an uncomfortable question.
Indian officials have publicly raised concerns about water security and the potential for the structure to be used as leverage during a dispute.
Bangladesh, sitting even further downstream, faces the same uncertainty, with even less influence over the outcome. China maintains the project is designed for power generation, not water diversion.
But in a region where water-sharing agreements have already collapsed once during recent tensions between neighboring countries, the ambiguity itself has become part of the story.
Perhaps the most serious risk isn't political, Pasit. It's geological.
The project sits inside the Himalayan seismic belt, one of the most earthquake-prone regions on the planet.
Recent research from Chinese scientists has identified an active fault line running directly beneath part of the planned reservoir zone. A fault that has remained tectonically active for thousands of years and has already weakened the surrounding rock. Engineers now face a scenario most dam builders spend their careers trying to avoid: constructing critical infrastructure.
A major earthquake in this region wouldn't just threaten the structure, it could trigger landslides across a mountain range already known for geological instability.
In a location so remote that even routine engineering data is difficult for outside researchers to verify.
Officially, the project is expected to take at least a decade to complete, with a target date sometime in the mid-2030s. Chinese leadership has described it as a cornerstone of the country's clean energy strategy, a way to feed an economy that is
But the project's true test won't come from its construction schedule.
It will come the first time a serious earthquake strikes the region after the tunnels are complete. And the first time a diplomatic crisis tests whether a shared river can survive being controlled from a single upstream point. Downstream nations are already responding. India has accelerated its own hydropower plans on tributaries closer to the What began as a single engineering decision about a river bend is quietly becoming a geopolitical fault line of its own.
A river drops 2,000 meters in 50 kilometers, and an engineer somewhere decided that drop was worth $167 billion.
Three Gorges proved a single country could outbuild the rest of the world. This project is a bet that the same country can do it again.
The mountain has held that drop in place for millions of years. Whether concrete and tunnels can hold it for the next
Production note: every frame in this video has been transformed through a multi-stage editing process. From GIF conceptualization to VO3 generation, human creativity leads every step. This channel is dedicated to original AI craftsmanship and follows all 2026 YouTube monetization rules.